More on North Korea. South Korea's intelligence agency suspects North Korea is trying to upgrade its weapons capabilities to gain some extra leverage against the United States. The agency also says the regime seems to have shaken up its military by conducting an inspection of the military's General Political Bureau for the first time in 2 decades.
More findings from South Korea's intelligence agency. Seoul's National Intelligence Agency briefing the National Assembly's Intelligence Committee that North Korea has inspected its military's General Political Bureau for the first time in 2 decades, punishing Bureau's chief Hwang Byung-seo and Deputy Chief Kim Won-hong, along with other military officers. Reasons behind such rare inspection of a key military organ because of his, quote, impure attitude. Led by the vice chairman of the North's ruling Workers' Party, Choi Ryong-hae, the punishment against Hwang came as a surprise, as he had been seen as one of the most powerful military figures within the regime. The intelligence agency also revealed a possibility of another ballistic missile launch before the end of the year. The agency said it has spotted suspicious movements at the regime's missile test site, and added that the North seems to have conducted an engine test for ballistic missiles. The spy agency and military experts say that North Korea is trying to enhance its ballistic missile capabilities.
Kim Jong-un ordered during his New Year's address the completion of the regime's nuclear arsenal. That is why the North has conducted its 6th nuclear test and kept developing its ICBM capabilities.
North Korea claims that the rockets are meant to send the satellite into orbit, while Seoul and Washington say the regime's main purpose is to develop an intercontinental ballistic missile that can reach the U.S. mainland.
South Korea's intelligence agency says the North appears to have shaken up the top political officers in its military, punishing several of them for what may have been perceived disloyalty. This was the regime's first inspection of the military's General Political Bureau in 2 decades.
Seoul's National Intelligence Agency, briefing the National Assembly's Intelligence Committee on Monday, said that North Korea has inspected its military's General Political Bureau for the first time in 2 decades, punishing the Bureau's chief, Hwang Byung-seo, and Deputy Chief Kim Won-hong, along with other military officers. The inspection was led by the vice chairman of the North's ruling Workers' Party, Choi Ryong-hae, and the reason given for the rare inspection of a key military organ was the Bureau's, quote, impure attitude. The intelligence agency said that it has been watching the situation, but didn't specify what punishment had been taken by the regime. The General Political Bureau is an influential military institution which deals with the crucial personnel management of other military branches. The punishment against Hwang Byung-seo came as a surprise, as he is one of the most powerful military figures in North Korea. Hwang took over the bureau in 2014, replacing Choi Ryong-hae, which raised speculation that Kim Jong-un might be keeping the two in check to ensure their loyalty. North Korea is widely known for punishing and killing high-level officials for supposed disloyalty. Since taking power in 2011, Kim Jong-un is believed to have executed more than 100 high-ranking military and party officials to ensure his followers' loyalty. Most widely known is the execution of Kim Jong-un's uncle Chang Song-taek soon after Kim Jong-un came to power.
During a cabinet meeting on Monday, President Donald Trump announced the U.S. will designate North Korea as a state sponsor of terrorism. Saying it should have happened a long time ago, Trump accused the regime of supporting international terrorism, in addition to threatening the world with nuclear devastation.
This designation will impose further sanctions and penalties on North Korea and related persons and supports our maximum pressure campaign to isolate the murderous regime.
He cited the murder of Kim Jong-un's half-brother in Malaysia earlier this year by a pair of individuals suspected of acting under orders from North Korea. Trump also referred to the death of American student Otto Warmbier, who was detained by Pyongyang for over a year and a half, as well as other victims of North Korean oppression and brutality. He said the Treasury Department will announce the additional sanctions soon, which he promised will be of the highest level. The U.S. president ended his remarks by urging North Korea to be lawful and bring an end to its illegal nuclear and ballistic missile developments. Following that meeting, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said in a White House press briefing that the latest move will help dissuade third parties from supporting the regime. Tillerson emphasized it was part of a peaceful campaign of pressure, and the U.S. was ultimately hoping for a diplomatic solution to resolve tensions with the North. Pyongyang's reinstatement on Washington's list of terror sponsors comes 9 years after its removal by the George W. Bush administration as part of a denuclearization deal, which ultimately failed. North Korea joins Iran, Sudan, and Syria on the blacklist, which bars them from receiving U.S. aid, in addition to tougher financial restrictions.
Thanks, Sarah. And as Sarah indicated, the President did make the designation earlier today, announced it in the cabinet meeting. And I think it's really just the latest step in a series of, as you can see, ongoing steps to increase the pressure. I call it the peaceful pressure campaign. The President calls it the maximum pressure campaign, so there's no confusion. They're one and the same. And I think this is, though, to hold North Korea accountable for a number of actions that they've taken over the last several months, the last year or so. Some of you will know that North Korea was designated as a state sponsor of terrorism back in 1988. So they have been designated before. That designation was lifted in 2008 as part of an effort to negotiate with North Korea an end to their nuclear program. That obviously failed because we can see where we are today. But as a result of actions they've taken, including assassinations outside of their country, using banned chemical weapons, these are all very, very serious actions on their part that put the public at risk as well. So that, along with a number of other actions that they've taken, resulted in their designation now again as a state sponsor of terrorism. I think, as Sarah indicated, the practical effect of it is we already have many of these actions in place through the current sanctions. It may, though, disrupt and dissuade some third parties from undertaking certain activities with North Korea, as it does impose prohibition on a number of other activities that might not be covered by existing sanctions. But I think importantly, this is just continuing to point out North Korea's illicit, unlawful behaviors internationally, and we felt it necessary to reimpose the designation for that reason. So with that, happy to take questions, and I'm going to let Sarah referee because I'm no good at refereeing.
She's so good at it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Margaret. Yes. Is this move an intent to incentivize Kim Jong-un towards negotiations? I think it's been more than 60 days since we've seen some kind of test. Do you think that timetable is in any way promising? And why wait until we were back in the U.S.? The president said that there was hope for diplomacy when we were in Asia, and this seems to be counter that.
No, we still hope for diplomacy, and the timing of this is just one of us concluding the process. There is a very specific designation process that we have to go through at the State Department to be able to meet the criteria to make such a designation, and we wanted to ensure we had fully met all those requirements. Again, this is all part of just continuing to turn this pressure up, and we continue to turn the pressure up on North Korea by getting other countries to join and take actions on their own. We've had other countries in our visit to Vietnam. They have committed that they're going to curtail activities further with North Korea. Malaysia has indicated a curtailment. Singapore has cut off all trade with North Korea. The Philippines have cut off all trade. And just recently, the Deputy Secretary of State's been in Africa. He had meetings with the Sudanese government. The Sudanese government have traditionally been buying military weapons from North Korea. They now have agreed to halt all those purchases as well. So this is it's taking effect all around the world, and we think as it takes effect, again, this just continues to tighten the pressure on the Kim regime, all with an intention to have him understand this is only going to get worse until you're ready to come and talk.
Specific to the 60-day window, he hasn't tested in some time. You don't think it's a trigger?
We're hopeful that he continues this quiet period. That's our objective, is that he continue to be quiet as well. This designation, as I said, is one that we're required to undertake from time to time, and we've been monitoring the situation. We wanted to be sure we had sufficient evidence before making the designation. So this is a process that started actually several months ago.
Thank you, Secretary. You mentioned that you're attempting to increase regional pressure against the North Korean regime. Do you have any indication that that is working? And if you haven't seen those indications just yet, how long before do you go down this path before the administration has to begin changing strategies?
Well, we get a lot of anecdotal information that it is working, and then we do have our own, intelligence sources as well. And then what the Chinese and others share with us, that I think the general belief is it is having a significant effect on North Korea. We know that there are current shortages of fuel based upon what we can gather from anecdotally, but also from certain intel sources. We know that their revenues are down because a number of the revenue streams are being curtailed now. So I think it is having an effect. Is this the reason we haven't had a provocative act in 60 days? I don't want to suggest to you that I could say, but we're hopeful this period will continue. And again, I think the president in his address in Seoul, South Korea to the General Assembly, I thought he laid out the case very well to them, that he wanted them to come have talks because he wants to deliver a different future to the people of North Korea.